The Super Nintendo is a legendary system. In fact, I'd venture a guess that the majority of retro gamers I talk to, and I talk to lots of retro gamers, I'm guessing that the majority of them would say that the Super Nintendo is their favorite system of all time. And that's not surprising, because they're not as cool as me and they don't know that the GBA is actually the best system of all time. And it's also not surprising because the Super Nintendo was massive. Everyone had a Super Nintendo, except for poor people and those Sega weirdos. And then if you consider that the Super Nintendo was like the last bastion of the classic 2D games era, because after this we got the new wave of 3D game consoles like the PS1 and Nintendo 64, Sega Saturn. So the Super Nintendo was like the last hurrah for these amazing high quality 2D retro games, before the world of 3D gaming made everything so much better. And because the Super Nintendo library was so massive, there are a heck ton of games that flew under the radar. That's right, this is a hidden gems video. But whenever I make a video about hidden gems, I get comments like, actually, this or that game isn't actually a hidden gem. And I don't want to argue what a hidden gem is, which is technically a hidden gem and which is technically not. So let's just say that these games are all just hidden games eluding mainstream spotlight. Or as I like to say, GEMS for short. Hidden gems. It's an acronym, so you can't yell at me in the comments. At least not for my game picks. You can still yell at me for my haircut, which you can't even see, but take my word for it. I deserve to be yelled at. When I fired up Space Megaforce for the first time, I was like, wait, how did I not know about this? It's a vertical shooter, yeah, another vertical shoot them up, but as far as I can tell, it's one of the best on the system. And somehow it slipped under most people's radar, at least here in the West. Like most shoot them up games, the story is deep and interesting. That's a lie, obviously. The story here is alien doom fleet shows up, you're in a ship, and you shoot the bad guys. What makes it special is two things. One, the maps are really dense but destructible, so you need to kind of blast a path through, and it almost feels like a puzzle game in that regard. And then also the gameplay that feels kind of customizable. There's like 8 weapon types and each can be upgraded. Some weapons get alternate fire modes. For example, one might switch between like a widespread to a narrow fire mode, or toggle homing features. Another might shoot little projectiles that orbit you, or projectiles that branch or scatter on impact. It means that your playstyle as you play through the game is it kind of changes. You get to experiment with it, which keeps the vertical shooter action feeling fresh and satisfying. The pacing is fast but fair. The graphics are crisp. The explosions are crunchy, and the music is just, good Super Nintendo chiptune vibe kind of stuff. That I love it. It's challenging, but not in a cheap way like so many other shoot 'em ups. I had lots of fun with this one after I discovered it, and it's been added to my favorites list that I'm gonna return to. Super Famicom Wars is basically Advance Wars' forgotten older cousin, the one who shows up at family reunions and no one remembers their name. Like that cousin of mine, whatever his name is. It came out in Japan in 1998, way late in the Super Famicom's life, and it never made it outside of Japan, which is a shame because it's really good. Intelligent Systems built it, the same folks who would go on to give us Advance Wars, and you can feel the DNA of Advance Wars all over this. Fan translations have patched it into English now, which is perfect for dweebs like us who love firing up these truly unexplored classics on our retro handhelds. If you're not familiar with Advance Wars, it's a turn-based strategy game in its purest form. You move little tanks and infantry across a grid map, capture cities, churn out reinforcements, and try to trap your enemy before they trap you. The twist here is that the battles happen simultaneously. Both units fire at the same time, so you can't just stomp weaker squads without taking some damage yourself. It makes every time you choose to attack a little bit risky, like you're gambling with tiny pixelated lives like a god. This one isn't a story-based game like Advance Wars though. It's just a make-your-own scenario kind of thing. However, one thing I love here is that they did the maps as a big overworld with smaller battle arenas that you fight inside. It's a neat way to do it, and I kind of wish Advance Wars did it like this. Just like Advance Wars, this game sucks you in and it doesn't let you go. You'll keep saying just one more move until it's suddenly 3 a.m. and you realize you've needed to go to the bathroom for well over an hour and it might be too late to make it now. Here's a strange one. Maui, Mallard, and Cold Shadow. This is another late-era SNES game. It's a platformer starring Donald Duck as a medium-boiled detective named Maui. He's investigating the theft of a sacred idol on a tropical island, but instead of solving the mystery with clues, you solve it by blasting things with a gun and turning into a ninja and killing stuff. Outside North America, this was called Donald and Maui Mallard, but apparently in North America they didn't put the name Donald on the game at all. I guess Americans felt that Donald Duck was too lame, so they kind of just had him in disguise here. So you start as Maui, a duck with a big gun that fires different kinds of insects, I guess, and then you combine them for different effects. Then comes the twist. Gather yin-yang coins and Maui transforms into Cold Shadow, a slick ninja who fights with a bow staff. And the staff isn't just used for combat. You can jam it between walls to climb, swing across gaps, and chain attacks when your energy meter is full. And after second level, you can switch between them. Some levels are clearly designed for Maui's gameplay, while others push you to embrace ninja agility as Cold Shadow. Like lots of Disney games, it's just really polished. The animation is fluid and the soundtrack has energy, and the stages just have a ton of variety. Haunted mansions and fiery volcanoes, shipwreck dives, even a trek through the realm of the dead that feels way darker than you'd expect from a Donald Duck game. Most people didn't pay attention to this, I think, because of the weird name, this character that no one knew about, and it landed late in the SNES lifestyle, so it just kind of flew under the radar for most of us, I think, which is a shame because it's good. But it's also not a shame because retro handhelds, obviously. Dragon View is a Super Nintendo action RPG from 1994 that feels like someone tried to cram a big Western PC RPG into the SNES. And you know what? They kind of pulled it off. This is a sort of sequel to Draken on the SNES. So the studio obviously learned some stuff with that game because Dragon View is better, and you don't need to play Draken first. This game is its own thing. The story is, it's not gonna blow your socks off. You're the hero from a quiet town, your friend gets kidnapped, and you chase down an evil wizard. That's pretty much it. It's boilerplate fantasy, but it does the job. It gives you enough of a reason to go explore dungeons and towns and creepy monster-filled lairs. The overworld is presented in first person. You wander hills, valleys, caves, all with sprite-scaling scenery that kind of melts in and out as you walk. It's clunky and it's weird, to be honest, but it has this kind of ambitious charm. Like the devs were determined to make a first-person PC RPG on the Super Nintendo no matter what. And when you enter towns or dungeons, it flips to a side view action kind of mode, like a beat-em-up style view. You've got a sword slash and a boomerang style weapon, elemental rings, and there's even some platforming and vertical climbing mixed in. It's a unique blend that keeps things from feeling too samey. It's not great in the way that a polished classic is great, but it's good fun, it's ambitious, and it's different, and that's what makes it a hidden gem. Dragon View is a fascinating little experiment that I am enjoying, and I think you might too. Magical Poppin' is a side-scrolling action platformer style game released only in Japan for the Super Famicom, but there is a fan translation that's pretty easy to hunt down. The game starts with a familiar fairy tale setup. The big bad evil demon guy's forces invade your kingdom and steal the magic jewel, and it's up to young Princess Poppin to venture forth, sword in hand, to rescue the gem and restore peace. Yeah, the story's a little cheesy, but it's there. What makes Magical Poppin' special is how well it blends pretty expressive sprites and fun mechanics with exploration and challenge. You've got 6 stages with bosses at the end of them, and hidden treasures tucked away. Your princess can slash in multiple directions, and you also get some like magic spells to use over the course of the game. She has this like magic hook which lets you swing across gaps or reach secret areas. It demands good timing, and in some spots it gets really frustrating, especially with how precise the hooks are. But it's kind of all part of it. The thing that makes this game fun is how tight it feels, and the fact that the character and the animations are charming, and the visuals just kind of feel lovingly crafted. They nailed the vibe of this one. I have a feeling that if this came out in the West, it would be a well-loved classic that we still talk about today. This game was recommended by someone from my Discord server, Luca Puka. Thanks for the suggestion, buddy. Also, if you haven't joined my Discord server, you should. Come hang out with us over there. It's full of fun nerds. We talk about computers, retro games, tabletop games, and share photos of our pets. I do a question of the day to talk about, and there's also a special area for my Patreon members. But that's a secret. Don't tell anyone about that, okay? Here's one that I really love, but I don't think I've ever heard anyone else talk about. It's called Pieces on the Super Nintendo, obviously. It's a puzzle game, a game about doing puzzles, jigsaw puzzles, like your mom's weeknight hobby, but with a dark twist. See, this is a competitive game. Think about it like doing puzzles to the death. You and your opponents each get a puzzle. It's a scrambled picture and you're gonna race to snap all the pieces into place. You can play against the computer, but the real fun is playing against a friend on the couch. It feels surprisingly competitive, more than you'd expect at first, because it's not just calmly sliding pieces together. There's power-ups that change everything. Some give you a boost, like automatically slotting pieces into place. Others are pure evil, like freezing your opponent or scrambling their screen. I actually played this with my mom. She's a puzzle nut. She does puzzles all the time, and every now and then she'll sucker me into sitting down and doing them with her, but I suckered her into playing this, and we were laughing our heads off the whole time. There just aren't many video games that capture the gameplay of jigsaw puzzles, and there's none other that I know of that turn it into a goofy puzzle deathmatch. I dare you to play this with someone you love, who also loves puzzles. They might hate you and puzzles by the end of it, in a good way. And that's it. That's all I have for you today. Super Nintendo Hidden Games Eluding Mainstream Spotlight, otherwise known as Hidden Gems. I hope you learned at least about a couple that you didn't know about before. If you want to see more hidden gems for the Super Nintendo or any other system, I'll have a link to my playlist in the thingy below. Click the subscribe button if you haven't done that yet. Like the video if you liked it, or don't if you don't. I don't care what you do, because I have some leftover cold pizza calling my name from the fridge. So I win either way.